This is a journey we've been on almost forever in this country, from successive DGs of NAFDAC. Well, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye joined us on the program this morning. She is the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. Good morning, Prof. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Good to be here.
You know, we talk about the war against banditry, terrorism, and all of that. And that, yes, that is very important, but this is also a very important war against fake drugs, ensuring that people are safe, because a fake drug is almost as potent as a bullet, really, can end anyone's life. You've been at the helm for quite some time right now, and I know that it's not an easy job. It's almost like they say, fighting corruption. Corruption fights back as well. So at this stage of your career, would you say you are in prime position to have achieved all the things you set out to achieve, Prof?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this meeting. But in terms of fake drugs or substandard falsified medicines, the realization was there before I joined NAFDAC. On my first day in NAFDAC, during my resumption speech, I made mention of a child of a friend. We were both in the US, but they came to Nigeria and the child fell ill. And the child was taken to UNCH Enugu. The child almost died. The child almost died because of bad medicine. This was 2016, 15, thereabout. So I referred to that in my resumption speech. The child almost died because a bad medicine was being used unknowingly. It was when that realization came that they changed the medicine, and of course, the child got better. He's now 20-something year old, you know. So I was not idealistic when I joined NAFDAC, but what I did not realize was the depravity in terms of the greediness of our people. Our people meaning those who knowingly falsify medicines. The depravity in terms of neglect of the cost of life. But when I joined NAFDAC again, there was nothing, tools. There were no tools to do what we were supposed to do. Talking of substandard falsified medicine or fake food or unwholesome food, you need vehicles. First of all, you need mindsets. You need people's mindset to change from within the agency, and of course, from outside. Then you need tools, vehicles to do inspection, laboratory to test the medicine, computers, 2017. This was not Stone Age, this was 7 years ago. There was nothing, nothing. We were in debt, 3.7 billion naira, 3.2 actually, then 500 million that was spent within 2 months before I resumed. So when you look at all this, you say, okay, we're going on a journey. What are we going to use to go from point A to point B? So you just don't fight with emotion. You fight with intelligence, with education, But you know, we started and we have been very successful in terms of mindset, because you cannot have a negative mindset and say you want to have a positive outcome. We started training our people from within. How do you put customers first in whatever you are doing, whether you are an inspector, a laboratory scientist, or an accountant or human resource? What do you, when you are doing your job, do you have empathy? Do you think of the customer? We did that training, quality management system, for 1 year. Actually 1.5 years. Then we got certified. Our attitude started changing, and I'm talking of within the agency. So our attitude started changing. We started thinking more of the customer.
Just a moment, Prof. Quite impressive, some of the things you've mentioned in terms of the attitudinal change from within the agency. But let's take it outside the agency to see how do you assess success, at least some level of average success, when it comes to combating whether it's substandard or fake drugs. What's your assessment? How do you measure that I have done a good job as the DG of NAFDAC to protect the lives of Nigerians who are susceptible to some of this mischievous element?
Thank you. You know, I don't like to think in an idealistic way, because I could have easily told you that, yes, we have a national survey. In fact, we have national action plan for mitigating substandard falsified medicine. You have to prevent, you have to detect, and you have to respond. It is a WHO scheme to prevent substandard falsified medicine or unwholesome food, for that matter. What did we do to prevent? We started doing sensitization, but you cannot be doing sensitization without change of mind of the people that are doing sensitization. You cannot. The attitudinal change is important. Then we have to set milestones for ourselves. So prevention includes making sure that our companies are sensitized enough, those local, those are the ones that are in Nigeria, and the ones in the outside the country. We have more than 70 or 80% of our products coming from outside the country at that point. So to prevent, we started overhauling some of the things that have been there. One is pre-shipment testing. When products are approved in Nigeria and they are going to be imported, we made sure we actually went to India and China. It was a 1 and maybe 10 days trip with my staff to read them Riot Act, that you want to trade with us, then you have to value the lives of our people. I'm just giving an example. There are so many ways of preventing. So we went to labs to really know that what they are going to do, if they are going to do testing, then the lab must have equipment. Then what is called the clean report inspection analyst in India and China, we told them that you have to make sure you monitor these laboratories that we have already certified now. So that is one method of preventing. Another method of preventing, of course, is post-marketing surveillance, constant post-marketing surveillance. So the products have come into the country, or it is local, they are now in the market. We do a lot of post-marketing surveillance across the country. 2019, we started the annual survey. We use scientific means to take samples from across the country, not just go to one spot and take samples and say this is the prevalence of substandard falsified medicines. Since 2019, we have been documenting the prevalence of substandard falsified medicines in Nigeria. Before my time, they said it was, I was told that it was 17% prevalence. Now we have about 10%.
All right, Prof.
And I'm talking of average, yes.
All right, Prof. Let's talk a bit more about surveillance now, and specifically about the capacity of NAFDAC to respond. A 2023 report quoted that NAFDAC has only 2,000 staff saddled with the monitoring of 58,020 registered products post-market surveillance. And I believe that we had this conversation with the Minister of Health, I believe last year, for which there were promises and resolutions that the capacity of NAFDAC would be increased. So this is 2025 now. What can you report to us in terms of the backing up with action now by the federal government of increased recruitment for NAFDAC, such that the agency can better respond throughout the country to tackling the menace of fake drugs and other substandard goods?
Thank you so much. That is part of prevention. I mentioned prevent, detect, and respond. That is part of prevention. I was talking to somebody yesterday that for every NAFDAC staff, we have 119,000 Nigerians to take care of. One staff to about 120,000. To do surveillance, we cannot just bring somebody from the street, go and help us. No, we have to have trained people. But we don't. We have 2,000 for 238 million people. 2,000 for 238 million people. That doesn't mean we're going to have 20,000 people overnight. No. But if we can double our staff as we speak, we will have better response. The minister said that we are working now with head of service to add more staff to NAFDAC. Our population is large. Our population, a lot of our population don't even understand the difference between substandard and fake and good medicine. So you are right on the point in terms of staffing. But I like to approach issues from whatever we have right now. But in terms of staffing, we are short-staffed. Many of us do the job of 5 people. Each person doing the job of 5 people. We are stretched in terms of our own quality of life, you know, because we don't have time to do a lot of things outside working. So when it comes to staffing, you are right on the point. We are short-staffed, and I'm hoping that things will be better.
Certainly, I know that there was a lot of talk about funding NAFDAC as well, the National Assembly looking through the budget allocations. But there was another conversation that came up on the floor of the House of Reps, and that's stricter punishment for those found culpable. Some even went as far as saying perhaps death penalty. Is that something you're supporting as well? Stricter penalties for those who are found culpable to the extent of maybe death, capital punishment?
It's good you are bringing all these things up. You cannot fight substandard falsified medicine in isolation. The agency can do as much as they can, but if there is no deterrent, there's going to be a problem. Okay, somebody brought in tramadol that can kill, 225 milligrams that can kill anybody, fry the brain, and you give a judgment of 5 years in prison or 250,000 naira. Who doesn't know that that person will go to the ATM and get 250,000 naira? That is part of our problem. There is no strict measures to deter from repeating the same thing. But we can do as much as we can, but if our law is not strong enough or the judiciary is not strong enough to stand up, we're going to have a problem. We have open markets in Nigeria. Kano, Aba, Onitsha, and Lagos. Before my time, there was a plan to remove the open market to what is called coordinated wholesale centers, where NAFDAC will be there, police will be there, Pharmacy Council of Nigeria will be there to monitor. Kano was the first in the country to do that. They built this giant mall, Kanawa Coordinated Wholesale Center. We had over 150 forces to move them because they refused to move. And they've taken Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, our sister agency that regulates the practice and the practice sites. They took them to court for 10 years. Pharmacy Council of Nigeria couldn't do anything because it was in court. Finally, we had this judge, Judge Ameboda, who said enough is enough and said they must go to coordinated wholesale center. Okay, now they are coordinated wholesale center. We started monitoring. Somebody bought a children's medicine for 13,000 naira or something like that, or is selling for 13,000 naira. Another person was selling about 3,000 naira in the same mall. That raised an alarm. Guess what? There was nothing inside that medicine when we tested it in our Kaduna lab. So, I want death penalty. Because you don't need to put a gun on the head of a child before you kill that child. You do not need to put a gun on the head of a child before you kill that child. Just give that child bad medicine. I'm hoping that judges are listening to me. You don't need to kill a child because the child cannot complain. Oh, this medicine doesn't work. It will just be, slipping away and die. So our judiciary system must be strong enough. But we are working with National Assembly to make our penalties very stiff. But if you kill a child by bad medicine, you deserve to die.
All right, Prof.
That is how concerned I am. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just the story you just told us is just, we're just shocked. I'm sure you've seen this time and again. And I'm wondering what can be done to make you even more efficient. I'm looking at the financial exposure you have for the 2025 budget. In my view, it looks small. 11.6 billion naira. That's what I'm looking at right now. And 11 billion of that amount is going to personnel. Capital expenditure is about 650 million. So what exactly is left to do any work? In your view, when it comes to review, for you to be able to do this work more efficiently, what will it be? I mean, just like you've been specific in terms of punitive measure for people who kill children with bad drug, what is the actual proposal you would think you should put out to give you more money, in terms of more money, to be able to do this work better? And do you have prosecutor, can you prosecute as NAFDAC?
Yes, we have a very strong legal department. We can prosecute, we can seize properties, and of course the proceeds will go to the government. Yes, we can, but it is money that is needed. It is money that is needed. You use money to do all the fighting against substandard falsified medicine. It's good that you brought up the issue of 11 point something billion being allocated to us. If the government understands that what a regulatory agency does is 24/7 to safeguard the health of you and me, our people, I believe they will leave NAFDAC alone and let NAFDAC manage the income that they are having, but still pay for our salary. We have what is called user fees. These are fees that are paid to do X, Y, Z, from laboratory testing to safety monitoring, to post-marketing surveillance, to enforcement. And it is standard all over the world that regulatory agencies have what is called user fee. It is money that should not be touched.
Right.
That money has been touched for the last 7 years that I've been here.
Well, these are major talking points, certainly, and
Yes.
we're glad we're able to raise these issues. If you really want to fight this battle, then we must put our money where our mouth is. Just quickly, a lady was trending online recently. Said she got into trouble for calling it drugs instead of medication. I hope that's not the case in Nigeria. You can call it drugs and not be in trouble.
Drugs are drugs. Drugs are medicines.
Okay.
But in Nigeria, people think that drugs are the bad part of medicine. Drugs are drugs. Illicit drugs are illicit drugs. Drugs that you're not supposed to use unless prescribed. And that is what NDLEA goes after. Illicit drugs. We deal with drugs every day. Drugs make you well. Drugs make you, just name it. So drugs are medicines. There's no difference between the two. But illicit, of course, is illicit.
Thank you, Ma.
We deal with illicit drugs.
Thank you for that clarification. We're in a unique environment now where anything that you say online, could get you into trouble, and you have to be very responsible. But just before we let you go, ma'am, if you had the opportunity to advocate for an increase in the budget for the agency, NAFDAC, what would it be?
It is...
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. The user fees that I mentioned, it is for the government, aside from paying our salary, it is for the government to match that user fee. For example, government pays 11 billion like this year for salary. We bring in user fees of 10 billion. The government should add another 10 billion to it, so that we can go after bad medicine, bad food, so that you and I can be healthier, so that we can trade. We want quality medicine, quality food, but it's not just there. It's not just that alone. It is to use that, to trade that medicine internationally.
Right.
Part of my goal is trade. But you cannot trade when the medicines don't have quality. And you cannot have quality if you don't have international standards. To have international standards, you have to have all the tools: prevent, detect, and respond. So it is matching our user fees that is not supposed to be touched, matching it naira for naira. At that point, things will start working better.
Well, Prof, it's a very tricky balance. There's a regulation bit, and you also have to foster innovation and the rest. But we have to thank you so much. It's everyone's fight, really. So all hands must be on deck. We've been speaking with the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. She's been there for, if I'm correct now, Prof, 8 years now, since 2017.
Yeah, almost 8 years.
Almost 8 years.
Going 8 years. Yes.
Professor Mojisola
Yes.
Adeyeye, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right.
Have a nice day. Thank you.